Alright, we have Miss Egan, the guidance counselor, Miss Pack, reading coach, and
Ms. Gutierrez,
the teacher. We're here to talk about Joshua. Ms. Gutierrez, would you like to tell us a little bit about Joshua?
Sure. Joshua is a repeating third grader in my class this year, and he's still struggling in his reading ability as far as comprehension, thinking skills, and basic vocabulary. So those are some of the major things that's going on with him.
Okay. It's basically reading comprehension
and application.
And basic vocabulary.
Yes.
What are his discovery scores?
He had 1280 was his scale score for the first test, and which was 22% correct out of the questions asked.
Okay. And did he make any improvement?
He made a slight improvement. So he went from 22% to 34%.
Okay. What interventions have you done with him previously?
A lot of originally I spent a lot of time working on extended passages, recovering ones that he was unsuccessful with, and trying to teach him how to attack them, in a small group setting.
Okay.
Additionally, I spent time working with phonics skills, just trying to increase his ability.
How well has he performed on have you been progress monitoring the extended passaging?
I have. He did not make much progress. We did have some, there were some opportunity or some tests where it showed that he would make gains, and then it seemed like they would slide back down to, below average. So it was never any kind of a constant gain that I felt like he was making a lot of progress with.
Okay. Do you have the scores, the progress monitoring scores?
Let me find them for you.
Now, Miss Egan, I understand that you gave him a K-bit.
Right, I was the teacher. We requested the K-bit because there was some concern, thinking that his ability level was in the intellectual delay range because of the concerns that the teacher expressed. So we did give him a K-bit, and in actuality, his nonverbal is well within the average range at 98. His nonverbal is in the average range of 98. His verbal skills were significantly lower on 73. That being said, we also know that this child has some background in what we think is not what I think. What the child told me is that there are two languages that are spoken in the home, which may or may not account for the difference between the verbal and the nonverbal scores.
Yeah, what languages are spoken in the home? Is it?
Well, mommy is from Nicaragua and daddy is from Honduras. Now, one of the parents he speaks English to, but he shared with me that the other parent, he speaks Spanish to that parent. So I don't recall whether it's mommy that speaks English or it's daddy that speaks English. Miss Gutierrez might know better than that.
Okay. Yeah,
Do you know if
Mom
this
is English speaker, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know if this child was born here? How long has he been in the country?
Well, the country of birth was the USA. He was in Osceola County, where he was indeed in the English language learners program. And I was looking to see if they identified, they said that he was language, ELL, or English language learner eligible, but I don't have the original IPT test.
Okay.
which is a test that they identified whether it's limited English speaking or non-English speaking when he came in kindergarten.
Okay. And the fact that Spanish is being spoken in the home is
Yes. Yes.
that can definitely be a factor as to why his verbal score is lower.
Definitely, that could account for it. We're not really clear since Ms. Gutierrez states that he only speaks English to her. But in a casual conversation with me, he did share that he speaks Spanish now, I know, with the father, and English with the mother.
And the primary concerns with him are comprehension, which could also relate to the fact that he speaks Spanish. He mostly speaks Spanish in the home.
Right.
Ms. Gutierrez, tell me a little bit about the progress monitoring scores.
As far as working with Joshua on extended passages, he started out with about a 13% average in October, and he fluctuated between 32%, 15%. He kind of went up and down, so I never saw an actual enough gain to see that he was really making the progress he needed.
Okay, so he was kind of inconsistent with the progress?
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Pack, you have other scores?
Yes, we did the bear inventory on him, and he scored where he needed assistance with all the way back with short vowels, which was the lowest area on the assessment. Then also we placed him in fast forward with scientific learning, and in December they did a reading progress indicator assessment on him, and it placed him at a second grade beginning level. It showed a 67% in phonological awareness, a 63% in decoding, a 38% in vocabulary, and a 38% in comprehension.
Okay. Well, could I see the scores?
Sure.
Which one is the lowest? No. So he basically needs more help with vocabulary and comprehension.
Correct.
So those two areas would be our focus. And do you say the extended passages are not really working with, or not? He's not making much gains.
He's not making much gains.
And he's very inconsistent.
Yes.
Maybe we should think of another intervention.
Recently, we met and we started working with the actual phonics needs, and I have started back on the basic phonics skills. He doesn't seem as low one-on-one as maybe in the group setting of testing. He seems to have more skills when you're working directly with him, but when he's on his own, he doesn't always carry that with him. He just writes it the way he thinks he hears it and continues. So, that's a skill that would help him, would be to learn to take that back to your, to your own space.
Okay.
We had suggested letter manipulation for that, increasing that area.
Okay. And have you started working on those?
Yes.
Has that been more
and using whiteboards and and repetition and seeing it and then writing it, and so it has, like I say, it has some improvement, but it's just not always carried through into his work. That's where I'm continuing to have problems.
Okay. We need a way to generalize the intervention. Is that what we're looking for? He's doing well. He does well when he's with you, but when he's by himself, he doesn't.
Correct.
Okay.
I see much more progress when we're alone than versus, like I say, the work that he turns in doesn't have much quality to it.
Okay. So is it that he's not understanding really the concepts that he's being taught? Does he need a lot of guidance when he's...
He does. And for one example, recently we did a project that had to be turned in a certain order. And we had an outline. We went over the outline. He didn't do it right. He took his apart, and we went over it again. He put it back together. It still was not in order. So, anything that seems to have that organization level to it, he doesn't. He just kind of, I don't know if he panics and then just says it doesn't matter. I'm not sure where he's going mentally with it, but that's one of the...
For him, it would be good to break down the task into small parts so that you make sure he understands each section of the task before putting it all together.
Okay.
That's something that I would recommend. Do you have any recommendations, Ms. Pack?
I think continuing the letter manipulation, but increasing the amount of words that you're doing at one time, and also increasing the difficulty of the words.
Okay.
More on grade level, moving towards that. Words I'm seeing from his testing that he's having more difficulty with would be words that involve the letter D, G, and P for some reason.
Okay.
Seem to be giving him a lot of difficulty.
Okay.
Okay. How is this going to be progress monitored?
We can just continue with RTI, maybe take him to, Tier 3. I don't know at what point you can take a child into that, but is he, would he be would he qualify for that, or is there something more I need to do prior to that?
Documentation of the progress monitoring on the original Tier 2. What was what we wrote down here in February.
Is my documentation where my records are at the bottom? Is that what you mean
Well, we
by
did
that?
30% increase in current overall score for his extended passages weekly.
And that didn't happen.
Right.
But we need documentation, not you just saying it didn't happen.
How's the intervention that Ms. Pack suggested? How's that going
graphs
to be
and I have
progress
two papers.
monitored? Are we using, how are we going to test his progress on that intervention?
On the new intervention?
Yes.
She can just document it on the same RTI form, and then again, increase the amount of words that she's using with him. Therefore, we have more data to show whether or not it's working.
So, and beyond a whiteboard, do I need to do something that can be attached? Like a test type thing where he has it here and you see whether he spelled it right, or are you saying that's not, necessary?
We're not planning on using the extended passages for that, are we?
No,
We're using
this is
a list of words. Is that what we're using?
Exactly. That's the second one I've done on him. I have two.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. We're going to use a list of words to progress monitor, and will that be the same list every time?
It's more the same skill versus the same word, correct?
And you can mark off the ones that you feel he's proficient with on there.
Okay.
And then continue working with the ones that he's not grasping yet.
Okay.
Continue marking on your RTI sheet there, and every 5th day do an assessment where you put the percentage down.
Okay.
Okay.
And if it is not successful, we do need to meet back
We
to
will.
go further with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we should definitely meet back in about 4 weeks and see how successful the intervention was.
Okay.
But to summarize, he's having difficulties with comprehension and vocabulary. And the intervention that was suggested was to use
Letter manipulation.
letter manipulation. And if that's going to be progress monitored using a list of words weekly, and we will
Particular emphasis on
the
B.
D, G, and P.
Okay. And we will meet back again in 4 weeks.
Okay.
To see how well the intervention worked.
Well, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.